We are continuing the Me and My Big Mouth series today, and if you've missed any of them, like if today's the first time that you're engaging with us, I really want to encourage you, go back and watch them all. It's been a cracking series. It's been challenging, but it's been really, really rich for us. And week one, we talked about what does it mean to shine like stars, and how getting control of us and our big mouths, me and my big mouth, can help us to shine like stars in what is a dark and difficult world. And we all love shining like stars, don't we? We love it. Kids love it when you go and see them in the nativity and you say, you shone like a star as the third donkey on the stage. And the kid's like, I did, that was amazing. And kids love it, but we love it as well. We love it when we shine like stars, when our boss gives us a compliment. You did really great on that project. When someone says, hey, you look great today. And yeah, thank you. I picked this outfit all by myself. Like, we love hearing that we have shone like stars. And you know, we've looked through this series of complaining and criticizing and lying, and the title today is How to Lose Friends and Alienate People. And I've nicked it from a film from a few years ago. But if you want to lose friends and alienate people, then I suggest you ignore me. I suggest you ignore everything that we've said in this series. I suggest you do nothing to control you and your big mouth. In fact, if you want to lose friends and alienate people, I think the best thing that you can do is do the thing that we're talking about today, and that's gossip. Gossip is a great and a surefire way to lose friends. And you know, this whole series we've taken as inspiration from Craig Rochelle and Life Church in America, who are really generous with their resources, and they make them available to churches, and so we can use them. So a lot of the stuff that you've heard in this series and you're going to hear today is their content with some of our thoughts thrown in. And we're using the Bible, obviously, because we're a church, we're contractually obliged to do so. And in the book of Proverbs, it's like a book full of wisdom and wise quotes. And it talks loads, actually, about gossip. So I'm going to pull loads out of Proverbs as we go through today. And Proverbs says this in Proverbs 18. It says, the words of a gossip are like choice morsels. They go down to the inmost parts. Now that choice morsels is like bits of food, and that's why we asked earlier, both online and in the room, what kind of foods are Moorish to you? I've brought some foods that are Moorish to me. Now, top of my Moorish foods list is chili heatwave Doritos. Who's with me about that? Honestly, I can open a pack of these just to keep me going. I'll just have a couple before tea. I'm starving coming in from work. I'll just have a couple to keep me going. And I'll be watching Friends because it's always on. And next minute, I'm at the bottom of the bag and I'm licking my fingers to get who licks their fingers at the end of a bag of crisps, by the way? That's the best bit. And it has to, you know, some people might say other brands are available. They're not. One of the biggest arguments we ever had in our house was when Laura brought home the Aldi version of these. Honestly, there was trouble that day. These as well. Sensations Thai sweet chili. Have you had these? They are banging. And at Christmas time, you know, like that moment where you're stuffed and you're not quite ready for picky tea yet, but then someone pulls these out and puts them in a bowl and you think, oh, I'll just have one. And then you sat there and you're watching The Lion King or Noel's Christmas presents. Showing the age though, aren't I? And you're just sitting there and they just go and go and go. These are so Moorish. I can get to the bottom of a bag of these and not realise. And then I had to go to the black market to get these this time of year. Mini eggs. Who's a lover of mini eggs here? They are so Moorish, aren't they? Now, I want to settle a debate. I keep these in the fridge. Who's a chocolate in the fridge kind of person? Who's not a chocolate in the fridge kind of person? You're wrong. It's just not right. If the hosting team can just escort them out of the bit of that. I'm joking. That'll come later. These are so Moorish. Literally, I had to go to Amazon and overpay. Who would like a bag of mini eggs this morning? There you go, Nathan. Your hand was straight up there. Enjoy those. The thing is gossip is really like these foods, that you can hear a bit of gossip and then you just you get a bit more, and you get a bit more, and it sinks deep into us, and we can just consume gossip before we've even realized and noticed that we're consuming it. And these foods are great and satisfying, but they end up with us putting on weight and being unhealthy in the end. And gossip is such a big thing in our culture. Mark Twain, who's not part of our culture, lived a little while ago, but he said this: a lie can travel halfway around the world while the truth is putting on its shoes. And that's before social media. He's saying that. Now, gossip goes around the world and back again before the truth has a chance to get out of bed. Like, it travels so fast. And the thing with gossip is the further it travels, the further it gets from the truth. It's like Chinese whispers, isn't it? Do you remember when you used to play that in school and it would start with, I love you, go all the way around the circle, and finish with, like, you've got slugs for eyes. Like, it just changes and evolves, doesn't it? But gossip, it can feel like, well, I'm not a teenage girl. I don't need to think about gossip. It's a bit childish and, it's a bit immature to think about gossip. But I'm sure there's many people in the room and watching online who've been hurt by gossip. As you can think of moments where things got worse because of gossip. Maybe you've lost a friendship or had your reputation damaged by gossip. It's something that we all engage with, even as adults. But I think as adults, we've got better at disguising it. And we disguise it using this, JSYK. It's tech speak for just so you know. Just so you know, I went past their house the other day when the recycling was out. I think they're drinking a little bit more because theirs was full to the brim. In fact, they had an extra box full of more stuff. Just so you know, they've got no money at the moment because they overspent on a car and they can't really afford it. Or I'll tell you the Christian version of this. We need to pray for this person. Because I've seen them on social media. They're liking a lot of things that just so you can pray. Maybe it should be JSYP, just so you can pray. Like, we all engage with it in one way or another. Gossip spreads, doesn't it? But it's okay to talk about it if it's true, right? If it's true and I'm not making something up, I can share about that. Well, Voltaire, who, as you can see, is much cleverer than I am, just by the way that he's dressed, he said this: everything that is said should be true, but not everything true must be said. Just because it's true, it doesn't mean it's any of our business to go around sharing it. And as we heard at the start of this series, your words, your tongue has the power to plant seeds or fire bullets. What do we want to be known for? Someone who speaks hope and positivity and life and encouragement over people? Or people who speak poison, envy, bitterness, and death into people's lives? Doesn't matter whether you're a Christian or not. I'm sure you want to be a person who speaks hope and positivity, because Christian gossip isn't just a Christian problem, it's a people problem. And whoever you are today, I think what I've got to say and what we're going to look at together could be helpful to you, whether you call yourself a follower of Jesus or not. But before we go any further, let's just define gossip together and figure out the lens in which we're looking at this together. The Cambridge Dictionary says this: gossip is conversation or reports about other people's private lives that might be unkind, disapproving, or untrue. And I've always had a lens that I've viewed gossip through some conversations I had in my early 20s. And it's this: a conversation that unnecessarily alters another's opinion of a person without them being present to defend it. And so they're the two lenses in which we're going to talk about gossip today. But who does gossip hurt? Well, obviously, the first person that gossip hurts the person it's spoken about. Proverbs, again, in Proverbs 16, says this: a troublemaker plants seeds of strife. That's firing those bullets. Gossip separates the best of friends. See, gossip has the power to separate people, to break relationships. I know that because I've lost friends because of gossip, and maybe you do too. Maybe somebody shared your secret. Maybe somebody overshared a confidential conversation that you had. Maybe it was something that was said on social media. Maybe Your reputation was damaged by gossip that one of your friends perpetuated that rumor. See, we can all think of times where something got worse because of gossip. And most friendships break down because of a lack of loyalty. And gossip is at the center of that lack of loyalty. But we all love to hear gossip, don't we? We all love to hear and find out stuff. And, a few months ago, my wife was away for the weekend, and I was looking for something to watch on TV. I was flicking through Disney Plus and stumbled across the Agatha Christie documentary, the one about Colleen Rooney and Rebecca Vardy and all that social media stuff. And so I thought to myself, I'll watch 5 minutes of it. She's a Scouser. I'll see if I like it. 3 hours later, I was invested in this. I went to bed really late because I was like, this is so interesting. And I loved consuming all the gossip and find out, no way, she did what? And I was loving it because we love to hear the gossip. But if that was me and that had gone on in my life, would I want that to be said about me? Probably not, because gossip hurts the person that it's spoken about. It is like those morsels of food, isn't it? Me watching that Agatha Christie documentary, just have a little bit, and you get more and more into it. Gossip also hurts the listener. When we listen to gossip, it hurts us. Check this out in Proverbs 17 this time. Wrongdoers eagerly listen to gossip. Liars pay close attention to slander. That feels brutal, doesn't it? Wrongdoers eagerly listen to gossip. That feels really, really harsh. And it is hard because we love to find out the goss, don't we? We love to hear what's going on. We want to know more. We're naturally curious. But I think when we listen to gossip, it can unnecessarily change our opinion of another person. Coming back to that definition, sometimes people say stuff to me and I go, I didn't need to know that. And now every time I see that person, I'm looking at them from a different angle because I now know something that I didn't need to know. And when we listen, people say what you permit, you promote. And so when we allow gossip to be spoken, when we're there, it hurts us and we're permissioning it to happen. And the reality is, when you're around somebody who gossips, what's going through your mind is you're thinking, I need to be careful what I say here. Because if they're saying that about them, then what are they saying about me when I'm not there? And so it can harm our own well-being and our own mental health because we're worrying about what they're saying about us when we're not there. And you see, it is that thing of once they stop talking to you, they're going to start talking to someone else about you in the conversation. And we've all been in those moments where he said this and she said that he said this and he said. We've all been in those kinds of conversations. The final person that gossip hurts is the speaker. Again, in Proverbs, it says this: when arguing with your neighbor, don't betray another person's secret. Others may accuse you of gossip, and you will never regain your good reputation. You see, when I gossip, it says more about me than the person that I'm gossiping about. It's so funny how when you're speaking on something, sometimes God just gives you opportunities to test what you're going to say. And I've been so challenged on this over the last two or 3 weeks. I've been like, oh, Andy, you're meant to be speaking on gossip, and there you are again. And I had the chance to have coffee with somebody last week, and he told me something that had happened with an ex-girlfriend of mine from a long, long time ago. And I kind of finished the coffee and pulled out my phone, ready to text one of my mates and say, you'll never guess what I've just found out about. And God didn't even need to say anything. Like those mum eyes where you don't need to say anything, but it's don't you dare. I just felt the God eyes go, really? Really, Andy? When a week on Sunday you're speaking about gossip? And I was like, okay, I'll put my phone away. It comes up for us. And what it was, is it was me wanting to share something that I'd become better than that and all that kind of stuff. And what it does when we gossip is it changes people's opinion of us. We become a person that they can't trust to confide in anymore. It's that bullets rather than seeds thing. And I would much rather be known as a person that can be trusted than someone who's going to go around sharing the gospel. But if we're all honest, it does make us feel better when we share gossip. It does make us feel better when somebody else messes up, because it means I don't have to think about where I'm like not good enough, because I can see that they're not good enough over there. But when we gossip, it reveals our own insecurities, because it's none of our business, but we're making it our business. And the reality is this: gossip hurts the person it's about, hurts the listener, and it hurts us when we speak about it. Nobody wins with gossip. It hurts everyone. So we need to find a way to control it, don't we? We need to find a way to put a stop to it. Well, the first thing that we can do to try and control and stop gossip is to guard your ears. You know, psychologists reckon that you can stop gossip with one question, and it's this: why are you telling me this? That question pauses people to look in the mirror. If I'd have texted my mates and then they'd have texted me back saying, why are you sharing this, Andy? I'd have gone, I don't know, you know. And it would have caused me to reflect, because when you ask somebody, why are you telling me this? It gives a chance to hold up a mirror and say, what's in me that's coming out here of why I'm trying to share this story. Now, I grew up in Liverpool, as I hope you can tell, and Scouse culture is quite direct. We're not scared of a bit of kick-off. In fact, if there's kick-off to be had, Scousers will be there. And they'll be like, lads, what? Like, we are ready for a kick-off. And so this feels dead aggressive. Just go back, Hannah. Like, why are you telling me this? Like, in the middle of a conversation, what are you telling me this for? Like, it feels quite Scouse and quite aggressive. You lovely black country people probably aren't as aggressive as I am. And so maybe we could try this way if you're not as direct as I am. Have you spoken with them about this? Have you talked to them? And then the conversation can be a little bit more friendly and say, well, maybe if you haven't talked to them about it, I don't think you should be speaking to me about it yet. Have the conversation with them. Challenging can kill gossip, almost like the end of a chain. If it continues and it continues, it can go on and on and on, but we have the chance to guard our ears and say, hey, please don't tell me this. This has nothing to do with me. But if that person that's trying to tell you the gossip keeps going and going and going, maybe it kind of reveals the kind of person that they are. And maybe it reveals that they're not the kind of friend that you need to have in your life. We say this to our young people a lot. Friends determine the quality and the direction of your life. Proverbs highlights it. It's not coming on the screen, but Proverbs says a gossip goes around telling secrets, so don't hang around with chatterers. It's this, that if you hang around with gossips, guess what? You're going to get into gossip more. And so maybe it's a moment to reflect and say, I need to change my circle of friends. Or I need to change the culture of my circle of friends. Of maybe there's a few of you that say, I felt really challenged by this series. Can you hold me to account that when you hear me gossiping, can you front me on it? I'm giving you permission to say, what are you saying that for? Why are you sharing that? I'm giving you permission to speak into this. Let's hold each other to account as a friendship group. The second thing that we can do to control gossip is to close your mouth. That's the biggest thing that I've learned in this series. I need to shut up more. Proverbs, again, says this. Says, watch your tongue and keep your mouth shut, and you will stay out of trouble. People say the Bible is difficult to understand. I wish this was on my bedroom wall as a teenager. Keep your mouth shut, stay out of trouble. Keep your mouth shut, stay out of trouble. It's almost like a mantra coming out of this series, isn't it? Me and my big mouth. Keep your mouth shut, stay out of trouble. In fact, let's repeat it as a mantra to ourselves, Lifecentral. Keep your mouth shut, stay out of trouble. Say it again. Keep your mouth shut, stay out of trouble. You in Clibry, say it again. Keep your mouth shut, stay out of trouble. When you find yourself wanting to gossip, wanting to share, you'll never guess what I've just found out on social media. Say this to yourself. Keep your mouth shut, Andy, and stay out of trouble. Keep your mouth shut and stay out of trouble. Listen, if you want to get into gossip, ask yourself this. If it was about me, would I want somebody else sharing this information? It's a great way to self-reflect. Jesus says, do unto others as you have them do unto you. Basically, if you wouldn't want someone to do it to you, then don't do it to them. And so we need to keep our mouths shut. A number of years ago, back in 2018, my wife and I, we went on this brilliant road trip around Northern Europe. We drove through France, into Belgium, into Luxembourg, and back into France again. It was an incredible 2 weeks. And one of the first stop-offs that we made was in Brussels. We went round all the sites, and one of the sites in Brussels is you can climb to the top of these stairs and look out over the whole city. And so we're there snapping pictures. And what happened to me on this holiday is that I found a new hobby, a little bit of an obsession, and it was watching people take selfies and watching people take photos that were blatantly, exclusively for social media. And it started with this guy at the top of the steps in Brussels. He stood there for 20 minutes, adjusting his hair, putting his collar up, putting it down, had not one, but two people taking photographs of him. He was clearly only there for the gram, and he's taking it away. And I was like, I've got a great idea. This holiday, I'm going to look out for people who are taking selfies, and I'm going to take pictures of them. And let me tell you, when we went to Paris, it was an absolute gold mine for this kind of stuff. So we went to Paris, and there you can see someone doing that. I deliberately took the photo out of context, deliberately took it. You can't see the Eiffel Tower there, but hundreds, thousands of people. Maybe you did this as well. If we move on, there's more people doing this, holding it on. And it's great. You look out onto the Eiffel Tower. It's incredible. It was the middle of June. It was a glorious sunny day. Then we went down onto the lawn in front of the Eiffel Tower to chill and have a bit of a picnic. And lo and behold, I'm there selfie spotting. And I couldn't take my eyes off this girl who was having a bit of a social media shoot. In Eiffel Tower behind her, holding a baguette. Just so in case you didn't realize it was French, I'm wondering what I hashtag, une baguette, une Eiffel Tower. I just loved it. I'm like, yeah, here's me and my baguette in front of the Eiffel Tower. Last night in Paris, we booked this really romantic kind of sunset boat trip up the River Seine. And if you know anything about me and my marriage, if there's a romantic moment there to be had, I will ruin it. And we went on this boat trip, we got on, and I became obsessed with this guy who looks like the Aldi version of Men in Black. And I just couldn't take my eyes off him. We're going up and down the river, going past all this incredible architecture. Nowhere to lie, I reckon he took about 10,000 selfies. At no point did he press that button that turns the camera around. Like, everything had him in it. It was like we're going past the Notre Dame, going past the Eiffel Tower, and it was like, honestly, I don't know how he had much memory left in his phone. It was incredible. I didn't see anything. I just watched this guy for the whole boat trip. The top one for this was in Luxembourg. We went to this American World War II cemetery, and it was really somber and sober, and it was powerful to walk around. And I'm taking it in, I'm reflecting, and then I look over my shoulder to see this. Someone having a photo shoot for Instagram in the middle of a World War II cemetery. Ben, could you just stop the music? Why are we so engaged with this? Why are we all listening? It's because we're gossiping. And that's how easy it is to engage with gossip. It's like choice morsels of food that seep down into our soul. As I gave you a little bit, and then a little bit more, and you're like, oh yeah, I can taste the chili heat wave Doritos. And it becomes more and more and more. We engage with gossip because it makes us feel better about ourselves, and it sneaks up on us. We've got to be vigilant to it. See, the problem with criticizing, with lying, with complaining, with gossip is it's not really about our big mouth at all. It's about our hearts. Jesus said, out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. And we have this unhealthy desire to be better and bigger than somebody else. And it's almost like your smallness makes me feel bigger. It's like I'm looking at those people taking pictures going, well, I'm better than you because I can do. Like, we all have that unhealthy desire. We want to be important in our minds. We want people to be less so that we can be more. And it's not really about this thing, our mouth. It's about our heart. So really, this series shouldn't have been called Me and My Big Mouth. Maybe it should have been called Me and My Big Insecurities. Or maybe it should have been called Me and My Big Bitterness. Or maybe it should have been called Me and My Big Inferiority Complex. I don't know. You insert your own title of what might come up for you, but we gossip because it makes me strong and others weak. It means we don't have to look at our own things and our own stuff because we can project out and focus on others. And here's the reality. Gossip claims I'm strong because they're weak. The gospel, the good news of Jesus proclaims I am weak, I'm a mess, but he is strong. Like I say, this whole series has been a little bit of a facade, and Jane is going to brilliantly wrap it up for us next week. But, you know, if you feel a bit beaten up and battered this series, that's not been our intention. Our intention has been for you to hear that Jesus is after your heart. That's what Jesus is in the business of. Jesus wants you to know who you are, know whose you are, that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, that you are made for a purpose, on purpose by God. For you to know that Jesus died on a cross so that you can stand before God and be enough, that we don't have to put others down and look at others to make us feel enough. You are enough because of what Jesus did on the cross. You are safe and secure in Jesus, and from that place of security, we can offer our hearts to God and say, God, I'm giving this to you. Can you do anything with it? You know, Jesus loves us as we are today. The mess that you and I are, he loves us as we are, but he loves us way too much to leave us that way. And so when we give him our heart, he takes it and he works on it. You know, I had a great conversation with Tom, who's just finished Alpha and is getting baptized in a couple of weeks. And he said to me, do you know, since doing Alpha and since becoming a Christian, I've become a lot less argumentative and I complain a lot less. And I'm like, yeah, that's because you've given God your heart and he's starting to work on some stuff. He didn't sit there and go, I'm going to argue less. It's because he's allowed God to work on his heart. And you see, gossip always has a loser. The beautiful thing is when Jesus died on the cross, there were no losers, only winners. And so Jesus invites us to give him our hearts. He did it because he wants your heart. This series is all about Jesus being after what's in your heart. And so what do you want to be known for? Gossip says, I'm strong because they're weak. The gospel proclaims, I am weak, but he is strong. I want to give us an opportunity to respond to that today. And we're going to sing a song, an old school song again, that says, this is my desire to honor you. And the chorus says, Lord, I give you my heart. Maybe all of us today can almost offer up our hearts and say, there's probably some stuff in here that I'm aware of and that I'm not aware of. But God, I'm giving you this to work on. And maybe there's some people who've not yet made that decision to follow Jesus. At the end of that song, Hannah and I are going to come back and going to give you an opportunity to say yes to Jesus, and I'll explain the practicalities of that when we get to that moment. So maybe during this song, if you're not someone who calls yourself a follower of Jesus, maybe you want to consider, is this Jesus fella someone I want to give my heart to and give my life to? So I want to invite you to stand to your feet if you're able. And I'm going to pray. Jesus, I thank you that you don't come to condemn us or point the finger. Jesus, you come to love us. You love us as we are, and you want to lead us to follow you. And so, Jesus, I pray you would take our hearts, and in your grace and your mercy and your kindness, would you reveal maybe some of the things that come out where we felt a little bit convicted over the last 4 weeks when we've talked about these things. God, I pray that you would help us to understand what's at the root of it. And so, God, this morning we offer you our hearts, and we say we want to honor you with the way that we live our life. We want to serve you. We want to be available. And so, God, we give you our hearts, and we say, would you do what needs to be done? Amen. Let's respond as we sing together.